I figured I'd start with Donald Trump's press conference from yesterday. I think there may have been some moments from it that are, kind of interesting to watch. And I didn't want to scrub. It was an hour and a half video. I didn't want to scrub through it myself, so I picked up this Face the Nation clip of it, which it has some of their commentary as well. It sounds like. Um, what the fuck was that? What? Okay. Sorry, that weirded me out. There's like a backrooms fucking sleep paralysis demon somewhere in the middle of this. So we'll look forward to that, I guess. But yeah, if I get too bored with their commentary in the middle of it, or if I feel like they're just, being weird little news people who don't know anything, then I'll skip forward and go on ahead. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of me just like finding videos on my For You page. Anybody who shows up is welcome to give suggestions, or if you have a video that you want me to watch, you know feel free to do all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and start with this one with Donald J. Trump in the center, frame mogging, Pete Kegsbreath, and Marco Rubio. Um, this is President Trump holds cabinet meeting as TSA chaos continues. Iran war rages on full video. I don't think it's the actual full video, but it's hopefully the best parts. Let's go.
Hitting Iran's military capabilities at a level that few people have ever seen before. People never knew there was such a capability. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world by far. I built it during my first administration, and I used it during my second administration. Unfortunately, because I'd rather not have to use it. But it's a display of force and precision and skill like nothing the world has really witnessed, although you got a pretty good witnessing of it in Venezuela also. And that was
just remembering back to the good old times, am I right? Back when your wars only lasted a single night. Oof, man. Venezuela. He's thinking back fondly on Venezuela, I think, right about now.
Smaller version of what we're doing now. We're crushing their missiles and drone stockpiles, destroying their defense industrial base. We've wiped out their Navy completely, their Air Force completely. We've wiped out a large percentage of their missiles. And the missile launchers, without the launchers, the missiles don't do any good. And
yeah, without the missile launchers, they'd have to just throw them, throw them over, I guess.
We've knocked out probably close to 90% of the launchers, probably more than 90% of the missiles themselves. Between some they fired and more than they fired, we knocked out. We've also destroyed a lot of the factories. We're continuing to do that, but a lot of the factories where they manufacture the drones and the missiles. The drones, too, are way down, but the reason they're down is they go one way and they don't come back, because for the most part, we're shooting them down. Well, but we also are able to...
well, also, that's literally how they're designed. They're designed to go and explode. Like, I'm sure we're shooting some of them down as well, but that's not the reason that they're not coming back. That's just like the whole design of a drone is it's a one-way operation.
We've really done tremendous damage to the places where they make them. And just so we set the record straight, because I've been watching the Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like that.
Bezos isn't liking that. It's so funny that he like keeps criticizing places like the Wall Street Journal and stuff, which are like clearly doing their best to try and spin everything in terms of, our regime or whatever. But it's just they have to do the bare minimum of like sometimes reporting the truth to like keep everybody on board. So it's really funny to me when he goes after like especially like the Wall Street Journal in particular, because they are like 100% regime pilled.
I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know they're talking. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators.
Okay. You know, guys, I feel like I'm pretty good at reading Trump to some extent at this point. I've had to deal with him for like 10 years at this point. Um, when he starts giving them credit, like for saying for being tough negotiators or whatever, that means like he's basically admitting that they are not responding to U.S. pressure in any way. Like they're not changing their positions at all. They are just what they said at the beginning is what they want for ending the war, namely a full and complete permanent peace, sanctions relief, full control over the Strait of Hormuz. Ceasefire in Lebanon, like all of these things that they listed as their outlines, like they're sticking to those. And I have a feeling they're not going to change their positions one bit. Um, and then they're going to just keep doing this until the interceptors run out, and probably a little bit past that, if I had to guess. Because they've already gotten a lot of those positions just from military, like their military achievements so far. They do control the Strait of Hormuz, right? They are allowed to impose whatever fines they want on boats going through the Strait of Hormuz. They did get some sanctions relief from the U.S. because the U.S. needs the Iranian oil on the market to try and stabilize the supply. Like they're getting these things through military achievements, and also all of the bases are basically like the American bases are basically empty at this point because Iran just keeps blasting them into smithereens. So like I don't know, it's the he really kind of tells on himself when he talks like that. Especially if you've listened to him as ungodly much as I have.
And they are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. They should have done that 4 weeks ago. They should have done it 2 years ago. Or they should have done it when we first came into office
Well,
because
my understanding is they did have a pretty good deal for you guys of like 4 weeks ago. That they were offering everything and the world, but you decided to refuse. So now their positions are they actually believe that they are in a much stronger position now than they were back then. So you're never going to get that deal again. Like you're never going to get the same deal that they originally offered is kind of how I'm feeling right now. In the same way that like when Ukraine had a really good bargaining position after their immediate like uh when they pushed back Russia pretty significantly, I think out of Kiev or whatever, and they had the best bargaining position of the war, and all of us lefties were out there screaming from the hilltops to be like, you must like this now is the time for peace. And then all the libs were out there, and like right wingers or neocons or whatever were out there being like, you just don't believe it's gonna be like, yeah, no, you should trust us when we say like for instance when Iran was offering all that stuff like when we're saying like that's the best deal you're ever gonna get like you should take it but you know these people they gotta go to war. I don't know, there's something in their brain, they just can't not go to war.
2 years ago they had free reign under Biden. Sleepy Joe, worst president in the history of our country, when he allowed to happen to our country at the
Debatable.
borders, and even with a thing like this. But not just him. Every president for 47 years, every president should have done this. They should have done it a long time ago because you cannot give lunatics a nuclear
Well,
weapon.
you
And
sounded more and more like Bibi Netanyahu every day, man. I don't know what tapes they got on him or whatever, but every single day, man, he is sounding more and more like Bibi Netanyahu. Like like pissing about like oh the like every president should have done this for the past 40 years. That's exactly what Bibi's been saying for the past 40 years. So that's kind of funny.
they would have had a big one. It stopped really when we did the B-2, but even before that, the Barack Hussein Obama, what
Hussein.
he did where he gave them the Iran nuclear deal, gave them free will toward a nuclear weapon.
The
Basically,
one
he
good thing he
chose
ever did.
Iran over Israel and others that didn't want him to do it. But I terminated that deal. Had I not terminated that deal, you would have had a nuclear weapon years ago and it would have been used.
What?
Guaranteed.
Dude. Okay, no, no, no. I'm sorry, but the you know, the energy inspectors, the Western Aligned Energy inspectors, IAEA people, went in there like every day. They had like full and complete access to Iran's nuclear enrichment program. Um, and they said every single time they are not trying to attain a nuke, their nuclear enrichment is like under 20% or whatever. Like they're not going for a nuke at all. Then you tore it up, and then they instantaneously got their nuclear enrichment up to like 60% or whatever. Um, and probably just for, negotiations as something to give away as a part of like entering some sort of new deal or whatever. Um, but yeah, they started like it's like every single thing that we're doing is pushing them to get a nuclear weapon, basically. Like every single these military actions, I'm sure the new hardline government is going to be scrambling to get a nuke as soon as possible, if I had to guess, which would probably be for the best because I don't think there's going to be peace in the Middle East until Iran gets a nuke. That's just my opinion. Israel will just keep dismantling and destabilizing the entire region until Iran gets a nuke. Um, so like it might be for the best eventually, but everything they're doing is leading to Iran like getting closer and closer to getting a nuke.
And one of the reasons you know about the guarantee is because their neighbors were sort of like bystanders. They weren't involved very much.
Uh-huh.
They didn't choose heavy sides. They didn't want to because people were concerned with Iran. There was a big.
Yeah, they didn't choose sides, but somehow every single base that was on all of these Gulf states, somehow they were all American. I don't understand how that happened. How come they all somehow all of these bases turned out to be American operated? You'd think if they were, neutral, 50% of those bases would be American operated and 50% would be Iranian operated. So I don't know. It seems like they kind of did take a side, if you ask me.
Black cloud over the Middle East. They were concerned, but all of a sudden the war starts and they start shooting at these five, in particular, five countries. They start shooting at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Oman. They start shooting at them, and everybody was shocked, including us. You know why?
I wasn't.
Because they're sick. And they had a plan to take over the Middle East. And some of those.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked at all because I watch Iranian news and I watch like what they're trying to portray out into the media or whatever. And they've been saying that this is what they will do for 40 years in the same way, or not 40 years, but like I don't know, like probably like the past 10 years at least. This is what they've been saying that they will do if America decides to go to war with them. And so America then decided to go to war with them, and then they did what they said they were going to do. So this does not surprise me whatsoever.
Missiles that were shot at them were locked long before we even started this process. They were locked,
Locked
and
and
loaded
loaded.
and aimed at those countries. They
Locked
wanted
and
to take
loaded.
over the Middle East. But we happened to come along, so it wasn't so easy. So right now their navy is sunk in the largest elimination of a foreign navy that has taken place, maybe ever, but certainly since World War II. Their Air Force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and communications capabilities are totally dismantled. And one of the problems they do have when they deal with us is we deal with people and the people aren't able to communicate with anybody else. So.
Yeah, except that F-35 that went down. And I mean, I always take like that one had direct confirmation from the State Department, so that one actually did happen for sure. They've also, I think, taken out multiple like F-16s and stuff, but those haven't really been confirmed. And Iran does sometimes overstate, I think, how many they've taken out, but I'm sure that they've taken out at least a couple probably, but. Yeah.
Because all of their leadership.
Sorry, that's related to the anti-aircraft thing. Like I think they still have anti-aircraft capabilities. I just, obviously they're not that effective against the American military because the American military is the most advanced in the world or whatever. But the fact that they're even slightly able to take down an occasional like F-35 or whatever is already like a huge blow to the American military industrial complex because these like ragtag aircraft, anti-aircraft things that Iran has scrabbled together out of like duct tape and bubble gum should not be able to take down the most advanced, newest fighter jet, like stealth fighter jet out of like the, in modern human history. Like it's so I don't know. It's kind of like that's why I say it's like while I'm sure they've taken out a lot of their anti-aircraft stuff, this is still like a huge. It's not free, right? They don't have complete free reign over Iran still.
Has been gone. The first level is gone, and they met to pick a new level, and they're gone. They're all gone.
They're all gone. You can't
Because they
negotiate
didn't
with
make
anyone.
a deal, and because they're sick people. They're really sick. They're really sinister, sick people. And if anybody thinks it was okay to have a group of people like this to have nuclear capability, nuclear weapons, and if we didn't attack with the B-2
He's
bombers,
talking
they would
about
have
me.
had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks of that, maybe 4
Oh my
weeks.
gosh.
But between
2
2 and 4
weeks?
weeks, they were planning to have a nuclear weapon. If we didn't hit them at that time with
When did I? So I heard that before the Operation Midnight Hammer, and I've also heard that for the past 20 years from Netanyahu. So again, he's sounding more and more like Netanyahu every single fucking day.
with the B-2 bombers, and one of the great air raids in history, maybe the greatest. Dark at
Greatest.
night, no moon, no light. Every single bomb hit its mark and just obliterated that place.
Quite the
So it's
picture.
now buried deep under earth. And it was an amazing thing, but they would have a nuclear, and they would have used it without question. And you know that because why did they shoot all these countries that weren't even really involved with them? They weren't involved. They had no big problems because they're sick, because they want to take over.
I firmly believe, well, especially under the last Ayatollah or whatever, that they like even if they had a nuke, they would have never used it first. The only country that I even think at this point would consider using a nuke without another country using one first is Israel, and that's because they are a bloodthirsty barbaric people. Like they are primitive people who like they are like zealots, the type of zealots that you see in like an anime or something, like I don't know if anyone's ever seen, Sword Art Online. I mean, I know it's kind of like a trash anime, but like you remember like the people modeled after the Crusaders or whatever in that world, or like the PvPers. Like they're kind of like those people. They're like bloodthirsty ghouls. And they might actually use a nuke if they feel like they've been embarrassed too much or whatever by Iran's military capabilities. But again, every bad thing that happens has a silver lining or whatever. Because if they did nuke Iran, I think China or Pakistan or somebody would just give Iran a nuke, and then they would like instantaneously be a nuclear armed nation and finally have a nuclear umbrella over them. So yeah.
Over the Middle East, not just Israel. Certainly Israel would have been the first on their list. They would have used nuclear weapons, a nuclear, you don't need too many of them, but they would have used a nuclear weapon on Israel, and they would have used it on the neighbors, and then they would have come after us.
Oh no.
And if we had a weak president, they would have done great damage, but fortunately you don't have a weak president. I knew what was happening. And I think we've been proven right. They took.
Why do these people to the left and right, like Rubio and Hegseth, give such like NPC energy right now? I feel like they're so zoned out. Like maybe Kegsbreath had a few too many shots of vodka before he came up here. Rubio just looks like he's like, I don't know, like zooted out of his brain or something. They're both like very. I get it. It's hard to look like you're paying attention when you got Grandpa just rambling over here, right? But like I still think I could do a better job of pretending. Like I'm doing it right now. I'm listening to Grandpa ramble. Do I not look more like focused and like on what he's saying than these two people? Like seriously.
One missile went 2,500 miles. They supposedly didn't have a missile
That
like
was a
that.
good
They had
one.
no missile with that capability. But they shot the now famous Ireland, the island
Ireland.
that the UK was very afraid to give us because they didn't want to get dragged in. But we don't want to get dragged into their wars either. It's one thing we're very disappointed. I'll
Fair
say it
enough.
publicly. We're very disappointed with NATO
Oh, me too.
because NATO has done absolutely nothing.
It
And I've
has.
always said, 25 years ago, I mean, I was somebody that wasn't.
Well, it hasn't done absolutely nothing. Nothing. It has facilitated the vassalization of all of Europe and a whole bunch of other countries, like Turkey and Japan and all that, and like a lot of East Asia or whatever. It has vassalized all of these countries into, little pawns of empire to be used for the imperial ambitions of America, which, in my opinion, is bad, right? I am an anti imperialist. I always tell people this. The reason I sound anti America is because America is like incredibly imperialist. And if it stopped being imperialist, I would stop, having so many problems with what America does. But anyway, NATO just facilitates that imperial force, both politically and militarily. Uh, and so that's why I want it to be destroyed and ripped apart and broken up. Um, but it's also the reason though that I don't think it's going to happen. Even if Trump like talks a big talk about NATO being some, uh, you know, well, saying kind of the truth when saying it's like a protection racket or whatever, where we protect everybody. But in exchange, we obviously get a lot of their political and military support to do our imperial ambitions. Um, but because of that exact reason, I know it's not going to happen. He'll say these things because it sounds good to the MAGA base and to people like me. Um, but any good thing that he says never happens because the capitalist forces behind him are always going to, anytime Trump gets like just a little bit off track, they're always going to come in and just push him right back onto the track and be like, no, you are not going to do that, you bitch. You're going to do exactly what we say. And you are going to keep NATO alive because it helps us capitalists accumulate more wealth. And so don't even try to break it up. Like that's what they say to him in the back rooms. And he says, okay, fine. I guess I will. Sorry, capital daddies. I'm sorry. Sorry, Epstein. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. I didn't mean to upset you with my NATO bashing. I'm sorry. Like that's basically what happens every single time Trump has like an actual decent idea, like destroying NATO.
Politician, but I was always involved in politics and I understood politics. I said 25 years ago that NATO's a paper tiger, but more importantly, that we'll come to their rescue, but they will never come to ours. And I want you to remember that we said this. They didn't come to our rescue. Now they all want to help. When they're annihilated, the other side is annihilated. They said, we'd love to send ships.
Well, it's again, we are NATO. What are all of these countries going to do that we can't do? If America can't open the Strait of Hormuz, then nobody can open the Strait of Hormuz. That's the whole thing about NATO. It is a protection racket. We are the only one who can like protect these countries or whatever. None of the other countries can do jack shit. Um, so like yeah, it's pointless to be disappointed in them because of course they can't do anything about this if we can't.
Actually made a statement, a couple of them, that we want to get involved when the war's over. No, it's supposed to get involved when the war's beginning, or even before it begins. We had the UK say that we'll send, this is 3 weeks ago, we'll send our aircraft carriers, which aren't the best aircraft carriers, by the way. They're toys compared to what we have.
He's saying what I said.
We'll send our aircraft carrier when the war is over. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Don't bother. We don't need it.
So catty.
And we don't need it. And we don't need them. We estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission.
We don't need them. He's going kind of mean girls on them. Like, we don't need that.
And we're way ahead of schedule. If you look at what we've done in terms of the destruction of that country, I mean, we're way ahead. Think of it. They have no Navy. And they had good ships. 154 ships have been shot down and are resting very nicely.
Good ships is kind of like they're not known for their navy. Iran is not known for their navy. So, but congratulations. I'm sure they were all. I'm sure none of them were civilian ships.
The bottom of the sea.
With the fishes.
And we did that in a
Sorry,
matter
I just love saying that.
less than a week. Because we have the greatest military in the world by far. Nobody even close.
That's true. That's true.
So we estimated it would take approximately 4 to 6 weeks to achieve our mission. 26 days in, we're really a lot ahead of schedule. The Iranian regime is now admitting to itself that they have been decisively defeated. They're saying to people,
I
this
haven't
is a
heard that.
disaster. They know it. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster in their hands. They're defeated.
Disaster.
They can't make a comeback. We're free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy all of their crazy nuclear weapons and missiles and drones that they're building. And we're doing that. They now have a chance to make a deal, but that's up to them. And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate?
Who would?
They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up. And even now, we don't know if there are any mines. You know, they have 22 they call mine droppers. Think of it. Who would have 22 mine droppers? There's a boat that drops mines. Who has 22 mine droppers?
Good
Except
question.
for people with very
Good
evil
question.
intention.
I know I don't. That means I'm a good person. I don't got any mine dropping ships. I'm not going out to the Mississippi River to lay some mines. So you're right. You're right, President. That would only be used for evil.
So every one of those mine droppers has been struck. With
There's no way. There like laying mines in a strait. As far as I know, you just need a ship. I don't even know if it has to be a very specific type of ship. I think you just need a ship to carry the mines to the locations and then drop them in. So like I could be wrong on that. I'm not a military expert on this stuff, but I'm pretty sure as long as they have like even one working ship, they'll be able to lay the mines.
Same weapon we used to stop drugs from coming into the United States of America. When we hit those boats, it's the exact same weapon, extremely effective. We have unlimited supplies and extremely effective. But they have no more mine droppers. By the way, speaking of drugs, we're 98% down drugs coming in by water, by the ocean, by the sea. 98%. And we're trying to find out who are the 2% because we think they're the bravest men anywhere in the world. Maybe women. But whoever's on those boats is very brave or doesn't watch television. But
What a
where drugs
comedian.
coming in by sea, coming in by water, are 98% down. And now we'll stop the drugs coming in by land. The land is the easy one.
See everybody, all these right wingers out there who really wanted to deport all the migrants and really wanted to stop all those drugs from coming into our country from overseas. You got what you wanted. Everybody, you got what you wanted. So your lives are perfect now, right? Your lives are completely perfect. You are a perfectly happy person at this point. There's nothing you could ever ask for. You're able to afford your mortgage now, I'm sure. You're able you're able to afford all of your medical debt. You can send your kids to school, to college if they want to, definitely. Everything is perfect now, right? Right, everybody? Now that all of these migrants have been purged from our country and all of the drugs have been stopped from coming into our borders, everything's perfect. Nothing to complain about anymore.
You had to stop the water. A lot of it came into the water. Now it's all pinched, and these people are trying to come in by land. And we will. That's it. That's the easy one. But we had to take care of the water first. Nobody's coming in. Virtually nothing is coming in anymore. It was hundreds of millions
No oil's coming in, that's for sure.
of dollars a week were coming in by water. But they now have the chance, that is Iran, to permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions and to chart a new path forward. We'll see if they want to do it. If they don't, we're their worst nightmare. In the meantime, we'll just keep blowing them away, unimpeded, unstopped. Well, there's not a thing they can do about it. They can't do anything about it, I tell you, if they could, you'd be hearing about it. You'd be hearing about it. You don't hear anything about it.
It feels like they can still do things about it, i.e., impose cost on the world and America in particular. That's the whole idea of asymmetric warfare is, yeah, you're not going to be able to like shoot down every plane that comes over your territory or engage in reciprocal, firebombing of American cities or something, right? They are engaging in like pretty much tit for tat with Israel at least. But like, yeah, the whole point of asymmetric warfare is that you're just going to impose a cost on the like a material cost on the country who is waging war on you, and you are just going to have to suffer until that material cost becomes enough that the imperial power turns away with its tail between its legs and goes home. Like, that's what happened in Afghanistan. That's what happened in Vietnam. Like, that's just the way that you wage asymmetric warfare. Um, like I've kind of talked about it, I guess, a little bit, but like I almost think we're past the point of like, well, maybe not past the point, I guess. I think the current way that the system is, with America being this huge giant power trying to impose imperial dominance on every other smaller power, leads to this kind of thing where like there's never any like winning of wars anymore. There is only ever attritional warfare because it's the only strategy against an imperial power that is this big. Um, you have to kind of wage attritional guerrilla style warfare if you want to have any hope of your country, staying sovereign or whatever. Um, so it feels like there is no winning wars from America's perspective going forward. Now I do think that'll change once we get into a more multipolar world where you have China and probably America to some extent still, Russia, and whatever other middle powers ascend to world power status in a multipolar world. At that point, you'll probably have more like traditional warfare again, where it's like it's more similar looking to like Ukraine versus Russia, where Ukraine is our proxy. So it's essentially America versus Russia. And those types of wars, there is kind of like a winner and a loser because it's not exactly the same as an like overbearing imperial force going up a guerrilla ragtag team of rebels or whatever. So, but yeah, I don't know. Sorry, that's a little tangent, but I've thought about that before, so I wanted to kind of express it.
They can't shoot our jets. We have the best military equipment in the world. No, not even a contest. You see that with Venezuela. They had other equipment. They didn't have ours. It didn't work. Didn't work. Think of it. The situation in Venezuela. It was a great military operation, getting a very, very dangerous man who's killed a lot of people, forced people into our country.
See what I said earlier, man? He is looking back so longingly at Venezuela, and that's why I really do believe that he thought this was going to be another Venezuela thing. I think that like really like got him high on his own supply. Like he was like Venezuela happened and he had never felt better. It was like he had his like first bump of coke for like in his lifetime or whatever, because he's like he's notoriously like never taking drugs or whatever, as far as I know. Or he's never drinking alcohol or anything either. But it's like he took his first bump of coke after the Venezuela operation, and then like after that he's just like he thinks like he's on top of the world and everything's going his way, and then he hits Iran. Like he goes up to Iran and starts talking shit on Iran, and then Iran just punches him in the face. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
Incredible. He emptied his prisons in Venezuela, emptied his prisons into our country, and I hope that charge will be brought at some point, because that was a big charge that hasn't been brought yet. It should be brought. He emptied his prisons into our country.
Aren't you the ones prosecuting him? Am I wrong? I thought it was the federal government that was prosecuting Maduro. Like, why don't you just go tell them what to prosecute him for? My feeling is that they probably aren't able, they don't think that they can get a conviction for these random things that Trump is presenting. But I'm pretty sure those are your people who are choosing what to prosecute him with, Trump. So if you really want them to, I'm sure you can just go tell them to, and they will.
And was a major purveyor of drugs coming into our country.
All right, you've been listening to.
I was like, who's that? Well, I at least want to get to whatever this is, because it's like a sleep paralysis demon in the middle of the video. So we're gonna keep watching. We'll see what if this is CBS, we'll see what their analysis is. CBS is Barry Weiss owned, so I have a generally, I kind of assume all of their coverage will have a Zionist slant or perspective to it, but we'll see what they have to say.
Sorry, Kelly, it's your read.
No, go for it. Go
You've
for
been
it.
listening
You're on it.
to President Trump,
Wow,
who's been giving
classic
an update
man.
on the
Man
progress with the war in Iran.
taking over the woman, like just speaking over the woman and taking the things that she was supposed to say, right, guys? God.
The president has continued to double down on his assertion that Iran is, quote, begging to make a deal. He says the operation is ahead of schedule. He says that they have bombed, which is accurate from what we've seen. The bombing of Iran's military capabilities, its ballistic missile capabilities, its navy have all been incredibly successful as far as the Israeli
sounding like
American
Fox
strikes are
News.
concerned. And the question, of course, is when will there be a resolution to this? It does appear the president wants an end to the conflict, but the Iranians so far are not coming to bear.
Okay, right off the bat, I'm seeing the Barry Weiss effects coming in here because they are giving a lot of opinions here that are very Fox News coded, just like kind of like trying to spin everything that Trump is saying in like a good direction or whatever. So, and just so people are aware, eventually all of our news media is going to start pivoting in that direction, except for pure independent news, because the Ellisons are trying to buy up basically every major cable network under the sun, and I guess they bought TikTok or whatever too, or whatever. I think they were a part of that deal. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah.
Yeah, and I juxtapose that.
I guess what I'm saying is we're about to see the Barry Weissification of all of our news media, and they are going to lose all credibility, and more people are going to be tuning into to shows like this one, Technically Clay, where you are getting completely unbiased news because I am not even monetized, baby. There's nothing. There's no money coming into my pockets from anywhere. So you can trust me, everybody. I'm a broke bitch. Like
With our conversation earlier with Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, and he admitted, that there needs to be a better communication strategy here, because it is true, all the things that he said, they've obliterated a lot of their defense systems, but that messaging and saying, hey, we're going to be wrapping it up soon, we want to wrap it up, if it were to go on longer, that is going to be tough for the American people, I think, to wrap their minds around.
The president also taking in at NATO.
Two exactly conflicting, diametrically opposed things, like saying one and then the exact opposite happening is going to be hard for people to wrap their mind around. Yeah, I mean, eventually everybody's going to have to get their double think brainwashing going if they want to keep this going. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to pull that off though. There's too many like somewhat intelligent people out there who don't like feeling like they're watching state news 24/7.
Saying that this was a test for NATO and that he is going to remember this. I guess the inaction of NATO.
Get me to the sleep paralysis demon.
Once for now, he said, "Remember my statement." All right, that does it for us, folks. But stay right where you are. Mugo D-Way is live from San Francisco right now with our top stories.
San Fran. I got family out there.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. And welcome in to our viewers. The Senate is expected to vote this afternoon on advancing the original funding
So I'm only watching this so that I can get to the sleep paralysis demon. I think we're past the part that I cared about, which was the clips of Trump.
For the Department of Homeland Security. This as TSA struggles to keep up during the partial government shutdown. Some airports are seeing hours-long wait times. And former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro returns to a New York City courthouse on drug trafficking and narco-terrorism charges.
Okay, so the sleep paralysis demon it looks like Maduro. They really did him dirty with this effigy, I think. I don't know if it's the red eyes or what, but like Maduro, as far as I'm aware, is like a, 6'5", handsome mustachioed dude, and this dude looks like somebody that I'd see on the edge of my bed when I, took the wrong edible before going to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel a little bad for him.
And how the defense is trying to get the charges dropped.
Yeah, it's the red eyes, man. Okay. Anyway, we saw the sleep paralysis demon, which turned out to be Maduro. Let's go ahead and move on now.